Hey, it's Rob from Wheelworks Bike Shop in Dublin. I had a question from Curtis on Instagram. Was having problems getting the spares into his internal storage on a Speed Concept. So the Speed Concept has a little storage compartment where you can put your tube, your tire lever, mini tool, CO2, all that sort of stuff. And there's a couple of tricks. They're pretty tight. It's quite small because obviously you're putting it into the frame. So you need to, there's ways of doing it that makes it easier to use than not. So I'm going to show you how to use it now. So first thing is we'll start off with the easy bit. There's a mini tool that's made specifically for it. It's a little Bontrager one. It's the little bits one. It's very small. And that pops in up here on the top of the door, or the top of the storage unit. Nice and snug. Second is your tube. And this is the important part. You have to have a lightweight tube. They tend to be more expensive. They are more expensive than the cheap ones, but they are much smaller. So you need something that rolls up really small. So that's a lightweight one. And there is a lighter one again than that I use. And that's a butyl one. So it doesn't look much, but it is thicker rubber, so it doesn't roll up as small. Next thing you do is you take off the little elastic band off the outside of the tube, unroll the tube, and actually while we're at this stage, so if you're running deep section wheels like 75 mils and you need to run a valve extension and you need to take the valve core out to put the valve extension in, you've got a valve key built into the bottom of the door here, so you can actually pop your valve core in like that, and then you just unscrew the valve core and it comes out. So you've got a little valve key built into the door. So a clever little piece of kit. But we don't need to do that now. So you unravel your tube, you open the valve, and then you want to get the air that's in there out of it because you want to make it as small as possible. So you roll it up really, really tight, squeeze all of the air out of it. You can see how I spend the afternoons or evenings, my day off, or when I go home from work, I'm rolling tubes, squeezing air out of them. It's the little details. So you get all the air out of the tube, you make it much, much smaller, as small as you can, and then that will give you space to fit in the other bits and pieces. So when you have gotten the tube down, so you can see the difference now, that's much smaller. Okay, so you now have some space because it's not being taken up by air. Close the valve so that the air doesn't go back in. You need to put the valve cap back on, which is going to wreck your head if you get a puncture and you're trying to do it quickly, but it stops the pointy valve from damaging the tube when you roll it up. And then I generally roll the valve around, or roll the tube around the valve long ways, like that. So you can imagine why that's going to be much easier to fit in to your door than that. So, and then your little rubber band goes back on there, and there's an interesting fact: those rubber bands are made from tubes, and they just slice them. So it's the same rubber. Anyway, those rubber bands are actually very useful as well because they're quite brittle. So I use those. I'll show you over here. Come with me. So I use these to stop the bottle from flying out. So tie it on like that, loop it over the top of your bottle, and it's strong enough to hold the bottle when the bottle's full that it doesn't launch when you hit a bump, but it's weak enough and brittle enough that when you pull the bottle it'll snap. So they're handy to keep. So making Chad run backwards and hoping he's not tripping over anything. We've taken the air out of the tube, we've rolled it up nice and tight, and we are elastic band back on. Tire levers, another detail. Bontrager tire lever, you would think, is going to be compatible with the Trek box, but it actually isn't. It's too wide. So it's a very good tire lever, but it's not for this box. So BBB or Tax or whatever, slim,